Final day of notes before you guys kind of dive into your project. This project shouldn't take you that long, by the way. You do have Delta Math that is over this um, that you're going to have that's due while I'm gone, plus your project. So you'll have enough time to get this stuff done, but you need to start on your survey once again. Today we're going to look at um, interpreting the relationships of the variables. So, because when we look at something, we can see, like for this, for instance, we may say, oh, um, females prefer hip hop more than males because there's 45 of them here. But look at how many females filled out the survey, and then look at how many males filled out the survey. It's like there weren't as many males that filled out the survey for like whether or not you prefer hip hop or country music. So based on the survey, we can't conclude that. Da, 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 da. We can see the height. We can see the count is higher. But would we be able to predict the type of music someone listens to just because their gender? So thinking of a stereotype based off of the data we see here, and the answer is, I mean, we're going to find that out here in a second. But um, suppose I collected my data on colors. I look at the numbers again to see if the way boys and girls choose colors is just by chance or if there really is some type of pattern there. If most boys like green and most girls like pink, then that might mean that the two choices are somewhat connected. If boys and girls like all colors pretty much the same, then their choices seem pretty independent, meaning one doesn't affect the other. We did see some noticeable differences, but this is the last thing that we're going to look at. It's something called the chi-square test used in statistics. We're not going to dive too much into this. I actually have a template that we're going to use, so you don't have to build this yourself. It's just kind of plugging in and using that. It helps you decide if the differences you see in the numbers are big enough to say, yes, the choices are related, or they are just happening randomly. Like the people we chose just kind of randomly selected, or not randomly selected, but they're just like maybe we get a different sample and it says something different. So first thing we're going to do is go to the Canvas calendar and click on the hyperlink called chi-square test under today's date. So on the calendar, that would be going here. Click on the chi-square test. We're going to make a copy. And to see if there is a relationship between the gender and music genre, it looks like this. So we already have a table spread out, and this is just in case you have more than, two variables that you're looking at. Or not more than two variables, but like two columns or two rows. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up having to delete some stuff over here. So this is kind of taking information here, putting it here, and then calculating what's called a p-value. And this number right here, what we get, what's going to show up where it's green, is what we're going to use to interpret this chi-squared. So I'm going to go over here and just type in these numbers. I don't have to change like this to male, but really that's where that would be male and this would be female. So I'm just going to type in the numbers that I see from the top left. So that would be 15. This would be 45. This would be 5. And that would be 15. And we see how it automatically adds them all up here, adds them all up here, adds them all up here, and adds them all up here. What I have over here is I have these extra count things that I don't want. So I'm going to clear this because this is giving me a count of 0. So I want to make sure that I clear these. All these ones that have 0 in them. Like that. And then I end up getting something like this. So here, we would look at this number and we would say, is 1 less than 0.05 or is it greater than 0.015? Let me see something here. Maybe I didn't need to do that. See what happens if I do this. Nope, I don't want to do any of that. Okay. I don't know if we have to do that or not. Okay, so we can also change these. Like if these were our responses, right? We can see how this number in green is changing. Like if these were our numbers and we had 50 males that preferred hip hop and two that preferred country, and then our females, we had 190 of them. 100 of them preferred hip hop, and 90 of them preferred country. This number now says 0.01, which is still greater than, that is less than this. So we would say here that there is strong evidence that suggests the two things are connected, not just by chance. So there is a difference, and we can look at that here in terms of like country music. Like we had quite a few more select that, but we had quite a few. Anyways, let me go back to what this originally said from our problem. And we would look at this number and say 1, and we would compare that to this p-value, and these are basically our interpretations, one of these. So if this number is greater than 0.05, which it is, we would say that there's not enough evidence to say that they're connected, and any differences that we observe might just be random. So we're going to go through and we're going to do that for a few more examples. Here I have an example about, suppose that a rights group wants to determine whether profiling occurs at the airport security screening sites. A group collects data for 1,008 randomly selected passengers and classifies their last names as foreign or not, then checks to see whether they were fully searched. So I'm going to go and fill this out, just change these data values. Foreign surname and search, there were 47 that had a foreign surname that were searched, and there were 60 that had a foreign surname that were not searched. Here, people that didn't have a foreign surname, there were 191 searched, and there were 710 that were not searched that did not have a foreign thing. So now this number says 0.04, and we're going to compare that to 0.05, which this would be less than 0.05. So therefore, we would say that there's strong evidence to suggest that the two things are connected, not just by chance. In other words, there may be evidence that profiling does occur at airport security screening sites based off of this particular study. All right, let's try one more. Dr. Tom Bako, a sociology professor, asked his students whether they smoke cigarettes. The data is shown below. Can we suggest that there's a relationship between whether or not boys or girls smoke more? So I'm going to go through. I'm just going to fill this out. I don't need to fill in the totals. They're already done for me. Here we have 0.07 as our p-value, which is greater than 0.05. So we would say that there's not enough evidence to say that they're connected. Any differences might just be random. So there's not enough evidence to suggest that men smoke more than women or vice versa. So now it's your job. Project overview. That's all the kind of parts that you need to know for this project. Create a fun survey. Collect data from at least 50 responses for each group, so male and female, or whatever your foreign or not, or foreign surname or non-foreign surname, whatever it may be. Analyze it and share your findings in a presentation. You may work by yourself or with a partner. There's no groups of 3 or more. So to step 1, to get started, choose your topic and create your survey. Think of something interesting. Share your survey on social media, email, or face-to-face. You must have at least 50 respondents from your target group. Step 2 is to organize your data into a two-way table. So export your Google form responses into a Google Sheet like I showed you guys how to do. If your data includes responses you don't want, someone outside of your target group, or responses you choose to delete, sort them and delete them. Record your total responses and not if you deleted them, and note if you deleted any responses and explain why. So explaining why could mean that they're not part of your group. Create your presentation using Canva or Google Slides. Share the presentation with me as we have done before. Make sure you uncheck the notify me before email box. Copy the shared link and paste it into the Canva submission box. Slide 1 is worth 10 points. That needs to have each person's name on it, no more than 2, class period, and your project title. You need to make sure you hyperlink the name of your hyperlink to your survey to make sure anyone with the link can open it, hyperlink to your Google Sheet, make sure it's shared with me, and you need to have a fun image or graphic related to your topic. Slide 2 is worth 10 points. I want to know what categories are you comparing, what are you studying, who's your population, how did you gather the information from this part of the group or project. Slide 3 is worth 10 points. What inspired you to choose this question or topic? What do you hope to learn or find out from collecting this data? And before organizing and analyzing the data, do you expect to see any interesting patterns or surprises? Slide 4, a screenshot of your raw data from your Google Sheet. Explain if you deleted responses and why. Total number of responses. And then slide 5 needs to have a screenshot of your formatted two-way table, a screenshot of your formatted side-by-side bar chart. Do not highlight totals from your two-way table as I explained. And then you need to have the reflection questions, something like this. What patterns do you see? Did any groups respond differently? Who had the most, least, and what surprised you? A screenshot of your data from the chi-square template and the p-value calculated needs to be on slide 6. Write a simple interpretation. You can just basically kind of copy down what it says. Suggest about the relationship between your variables. There's enough evidence to suggest that, blah, blah, blah. Slide 7, formally state a conclusion based on your findings. What would you do differently next time? What was fun or challenging? You're going to be graded on neatness or organization. Make sure you use creative colors, images, and clear labels. Keep explanations simple and have fun exploring your data and sharing your stuff. Next steps, you need to create your survey and send it out ASAP today if possible, because you do not have, don't know what issues you may run into when collecting your data, and you can't start the rest of your project until you have at least 50 responses that are part of your population. Have a great week. Lock in. Get it done.